All right, I'm Ong Wu. I'm a program manager in Azure Storage team. I'm head of the product for Azure Disks and Files. Good to have you here. I'll be co-presenting this session with Yuming Liu, one of my colleagues. Right, this is a brief session on Azure Disks and Files and a precursor to our deep dive session on Thursday. We have a managed disk deep dive session on Thursday. It's an hour and 15 minutes long, so if you have more questions, come to our session on Thursday. I will stick around after the session, so if you have more questions, feel free to ask me also, right? We're gonna have fun in this session. We have two great demos, and we will also go over some key concepts about managed disks. Let's get this going. I think, go back. It's auto, so we gotta roll it back. All right, takeaways. We wanna explain core capabilities of Azure Disks and Files so that you know which workloads are ideal for disks and files, right? And we will show you how to migrate from unmanaged disk to managed disk, and then we will also show you how easy it is to mount an Azure Files share to your IaaS VM. So, how many of you are currently using Azure Disk? Raise your hand, please. Okay, good amount. What about managed disk? Okay. What about premium disk? Okay, same set of people. What about Azure Files? All right, I'll buy you coffee. Thank you very much. So, all right. So I'll give you a brief, I think some of you may not have used Azure Disks and Files, so I'll give you a explanation of what Azure Disks and Files is to get you grounded, right? So Azure Disks, think about your laptop as your IaaS VM, okay? IaaS virtual machine. And think Azure Disks as SSD or HDD in your machine. That's it. I'm trivializing it a lot, but that's the analogy, right? Then I'm gonna elaborate. Azure Disks, it's a block storage volume, which is durable, scalable, and performant for your IaaS VMs, okay? So note the word durable, right? There are many benefits, but I'm gonna double click on the durable thing. Okay, you lose your SSD in your machine. If you don't have for example, let's play along with me, so lose your SSD or, and then you don't have a backup, you lose the data, basically, right? But what Azure Disk does is that it's a managed service, and we keep 3 replicas all the time. Each of your data replica is in different hardware, disks, and all that, and then we have a promise of keeping 3 replicas every time. So even if you lose one, we recover from it, okay? So, and then it's performant. We have a different disk offer that I'll plan to cover, and then scalable. So that's Azure Disk, right? Any questions so far? All right, I try to make it interactive, so stop me if you have any questions, except during the demo. It's a little hard to stop the demo and then explain, so. And click, please. So we have 2 disks offer right now. We have premium disk. Those are backed by SSD, and it's a provision base, which is ideal for application which require high performance. If your application requires high throughput, high IOPS, and consistent low latency, premium disk is ideal for your scenario. Then we have standard disk. Those are backed by magnetic drives. And it's a cost-effective solution or disk options if your application doesn't require high performance. And it's ideal for test and dev workloads. Definitely, you don't want to spin up multiple VMs running on premium disks for your test and dev workloads. All right. So next click, please. We have 2 disk management options. We launched managed disk GA in February of 2017. Since then, we provide 2 management options for both standard and premium disk. We have managed this which are highly available, scalable, and manageable options for disk. And the managed disk is a recommended option right now for Azure Disks. And we have unmanaged, which is a legacy disk, also known as page blobs. And you can use REST access to read and write the data to those disks, unmanaged disks. So let me recapitulate. We have 2 disk offer, and we have 2 management options for both of premium and standard disks. Any questions thus far? All right. So I'm going to explain to you benefits of managed disks. We have unmanaged disks, and then we launch managed disks. So I want you to understand why managed disks. You say, hey, why do you have to use managed disks? So managed disk overview is that before we release managed disk, you have to create a storage account to create disk. You know, it's inconvenient, but it's unfortunate. And right now with managed disk, we provide disk as the first-class citizen. So you can create a disk and attach to a VM without requiring you to create storage account. But more importantly, think about that. You don't have to worry about storage account limits. So some customers pack a lot of disks to a standard storage account before we have managed disk. And then if you push IOPS, a lot of IOPS, to all the disks that you have in your storage account, you could hit the storage account IOPS limit of 20,000, and then disk can get throttled, IOPS can get throttled, and then your VM may get rebooted. Any one of you encounter the scenario? All right, I'll buy you a drink. I'm sorry about that. Right? So that was inconvenient, and then that's bad from our design flaw there. But we managed to solve this problem. So simple as that. We remove the storage account, so you can create disks. You don't have to worry about the storage account scale limit. You only have to attach as many disks that your VM provide, and then there's a VM throughput and IOPS limit, but you don't have to worry about the storage account limit. So that's a beauty about that. And also, we provide other capabilities. This is a scale limits, but I mentioned managed disk provides scalability, so we increase the scale limit by removing storage account limits. Second thing is manageability. We added a lot of manageability option for disk. I'll call out a few. One is the granular access control. You can now control who has access and what access you have to each of your disks in a VM. Right? You cannot do that with unmanaged disks. And you can do it through PowerShell CLI and even through the portal interface. Okay? So that's a manageability aspect, because this is a 20-minute session, so I don't want to enumerate all of that, but there are many manageability aspects that we added. The last capability that we add is availability.
Can you mount these disks inside an OS rather than just a VM?
I'm sorry?
So they're a VHD or a VHX, yeah?
Yes.
You can mount those inside Windows OS, but you can also mount it directly to the Azure VM, right?
Yeah.
Can you mount them inside the Windows OS?
Can you mount them inside the Windows OS? Windows OS, what does it mean by that?
I think you are referring to, we have a product called Azure Files, which is an SMB-based file share, which you'll be able to directly mount it to your VM. I think that might serve more as what you're saying. For Azure Disks, the management experience as attaching to a VM still go through the Azure management experience, as you cannot, you created this and then you do a mount, kind of a net use or like a mount to actually mount it to your guest OS.
So I don't really do net use.
Or, yes, create a mount point or something. Yeah, I think files might be more as what serves your need compared to disks.
Okay,
yeah.
good question. Thanks Yuming for answering that. So let me recapitulate, right? This question is that can you do a mount point to that? Not with Azure Disk, but you can do it with Azure Files. The reason that Azure Disk also is that we create a special driver between VM and the disk, so you can take advantage of caching and all that. Azure Files, you can use the net use or however you want to net point, and it provides SMB. So we'll go over that at the end of that. Okay. So I was talking about two options, and then let me reset it back. One is I explained to you about managed disk scalability limits. I explained to you about manageability and availability. How many of you are familiar with availability set? Great, that's a good set. So availability set allow you to you can build high availability solutions using availability set. What that means is that in a managed disk, if you have a availability set with 3 fault domain, you can deploy 3 VMs in a different fault domain. That means your VMs are on different hardware and a different networking unit. If one of them goes down for any hardware or any reasons, the other 2 can keep running. So with a managed disk, storage accounts associated with those VM may land on the one storage scale unit. So even though you are fault tolerant in terms of hardware and then networking, if the storage scale unit goes down for any reason, all of your 3 VM can be down. So that's it, storage became a single point of failure. But what we do with managed disk is that we make sure that managed disk make sure that storage account associated with each of the VM in the availability set land on the different storage scale units. That means one can go down, but you can have like 2 other VMs or many other VMs running at the same time. So that's the availability improvement aspect of the managed disk. All right? So having said that, you all are grounded, you know about unmanaged disk, you know about the managed disk features, and I highlighted some of the core capabilities. I'm going to turn it over to Yuming, my colleague. She's going to show you how easy it is to migrate from unmanaged to managed disk. And this is a brief session, so we'll go over that. If you have any questions, I'll stick around, and then also we will deep dive into this topic in our breakout session on Thursday. So Yuming, take it away.
Yeah, so after An has explained to you all these great capabilities and benefits that you'll be able to get from managed disks, I'm pretty sure many of you wanted to give it a try. So it won't be that hard if you're trying with your new VMs, as managed disk is now the default option on Portal. So if you want to create a new VM, you'll land on managed disk, no problem. But I'm pretty sure you might have VMs using unmanaged disk today. So we made significant effort trying to make it very smooth for you to migrate a VM using unmanaged disks to managed disks. So let's try it out. So here I have created a target VM, which is this demo VM. Let's go into the disk blade. So in the disk blade, we could pick any disk. For example, the second one. When we scroll down, you could see that in the VHD URI, it shows that it's under a storage account. So this is a managed disk. Another way to find it out is to add a new disk. For example, if you try adding a new disk, you are getting asked to provide a storage account, a container, which is the storage account. So this is our managed disk. Now we could start our conversion. We'll first open a Cloud Shell, which is, if you're not familiar with this tool, is a browser-based shell tool, which is currently in preview. So our first step is first to select the subscription. So we'll go and select the subscription where the VM is deployed under. The second step is to stop the VM. So we'll need to stop the VM. To save time for this demo, I have already stopped this VM. Let me show you. So the VM now is stopped. We'll go to the third step, which is to convert the VM from unmanaged disks to managed disks. There's only one script, which is VM convert, which will take care of all the disk that is attached to this VM. While we wait for it to get converted, let's do a quick recap as what we have just done. To move a VM from unmanaged disks to managed disks, it takes only 3 steps. Plus, all the migration is conducted on the VM level, which means that your VM downtime will be shortened as you're doing migration of all the disks in one shot. Besides that, you also no longer need to configure the migration on a per disk level. so that we try to minimize the downtime and also make the entire process smooth and easy. So the first step we did is to stop the VM, which is to ensure that there's no traffic going to your VM, because when we migrate from unmanaged disk to managed disk, we preserve all your data and also your account type, whether it's premium or standard. So we want to stop the VM so that we don't lose anything while we're doing the conversion. Second step is to run the conversion script that I just showed you. So we support this in both Azure PowerShell and also CLI. The portal support for migration will be coming very soon, so it's going to be an even lighter process if your ID administrator wants to schedule it and also try it out with your existing VM. The last steps, which is VM will get restarted automatically when your conversion is completed. So there's only 3 steps end-to-end for this process. Normally, the migrations take no longer than 5 minutes, including shutting down and starting up the VM. So from our experience as we work with many of our big customers migrating their VMs, our general practice is that you could schedule a time window to do the migration for all your disks which are using under the VM use the same availability set, which could ensure that when you migrate all the VMs to use managed disks in the availability set, all the disks will have their fault domains properly aligned, where you could achieve the highest availability. Now let's go back and see where we are with our VM. So we see that the conversion has now been completed and the VM is starting state. So let me close this, and we want to take a look of where we are with the disk. We'll first refresh Portal, as Portal does cache the VM information, so we want to get the latest disk configuration. As we scroll it down to disk blade, you see that pick any disk, for example, data disk 0. We'll see that it's pointing to the source block, which was the unmanaged disks. And if you scroll down, the resource ID, which you see here, shows that it is a first tier resources. Let's close this and try adding a new disk. If you try to add a new disk now, you shouldn't expect being asked for a storage account. See, you only need to provide the name. And yeah, this shows that your VM has now been converted from an unmanaged disk to using managed disks. Another point which I want to highlight here is that for all your VMs, you will not have mixed disks, as whether you have mixed unmanaged and managed disks. Your VM is either using managed disks or they're using unmanaged disks. So all the conversion, as I stated, is conducted on the VM level. In this quick demo, we show you that it is very easy to migrate any of your existing VM using unmanaged disks to managed disks. Hope you'll be able to try it out. After we show you, we also have extensive documentations on our website which show you how you'll be able to migrate. If you're not using ARM yet, we also included the instruction as how you'll be able to move from classic to ARM and then leverage managed disk from there. So now I'll hand over to On to talk about files.
Okay. So before we move forward with Azure Files, I want to recap a couple of things. And I want to caveat that Yumin did the awesome demo about unmanaged to managed this, but it requires short downtime. You got to shut down the VM, right? So remember that. Second thing is that we have a session on Thursday, and I brought up one of our partner, Accenture. They did the large-scale unmanaged to managed migrations with hundreds of VMs. He's going to share his experience and lessons learned in that session also. So it would be a good, if you are planning to do a large-scale migration, there'll be some pointers for that, right?
What is the session?
So I will have a session, at the end of that, I will have the detailed information. So if you wait 3 more minutes or 4 more minutes, I'll give that to you, right? So, sure.
Is it possible to convert managed to unmanaged disk?
We do not support that direction. You still can copy the data from disk to a unmanaged disk, and then you can do that, but there's no conversion script like downgrade it. So option is like unmanaged to managed. But why would you want to do that? Right, all right. I hope that you don't have to do it. I mean, if you are like thinking about that, if there's a feature request, then you and I have like a deep conversation, right? So, but I would love to hear that. All right, Azure Files, let's talk about that. I'll try to simplify. I mean, some of you have already used Azure Files, but some of you are new to that concept. So think about that. Let's go back to the scenario of your laptop being your IaaS VM, okay? And I'm sure all of you have mounted file share to your machine. Disks are attached to one VM. There's an affinity between disk and then VM. But Azure Files, it's a cloud file share, managed file share solution, right? One of the unique capability of Azure Files is a cloud file share, but you can mount it on your IaaS VM running in Azure, and also you can mount it on your machine right now, assuming that port 445 is open. I want to caveat that. So that's a great feature. This is how I, share my work. I upload a bunch of things from my work and then to Azure File Share. And then when I get home, I access the same thing. So that's the overall concept. Okay. Right. So Azure Files, what it does provide is the lift and shift scenario. If you have Azure Files, if you have on-prem applications which leverages file share, you can lift and shift easily without changing the code to Azure Files, using Azure Files. We provide SMB and REST protocol, and then you can mount it on Windows using SMB protocol. And then also you can mount it on Linux using a Samba client. And then also we support Mac OS. Right, there's a web page which listed which OS version is supported or not. And we also improve the overall security of our platform by supporting encryption at rest with Microsoft Key. And then also we have a preview program. If you say that you know what, encryption at rest using Microsoft Key is not sufficient, we also provide encryption at rest using your own key also. And that program is in preview right now. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Yu-Ming, who's going to demonstrate how easy it is to mount Azure File Share, create an Azure file, and then mount it onto the IaaS VM running in Azure. Yu-Ming?
Yeah. Yes, we are running out of time for a bit, but we will quickly get started. We'll quickly go through this demo. So here I have a storage account, it's the normal storage account you have. We'll go into the file service. In the file service, you see we have created a bunch of shares. Let's try creating a new share. We'll do demo share 5 and quota, let's say 5 terabyte. So okay. So now you see that the share is created. Let's look at it. We'll go to the connect button at the top. Here it will provide you the mount instruction for both Windows and Linux to mount the file share. So my demo machine is Windows. I'll copy the Windows one, and then let me go to my VM. So I'll go here, copy my script. This is a common net use script. You use this username and password, which is the storage account name and key. I'll change the drive letter to Z drive. This is no different than the net use command that you currently run with your network file share or your on-premise share. Here, you see that the demo share is now being mounted. We'll go and create let's say a note as a document. So in this quick demo, we showed you actually 3 steps: creating the file share, mounting the file share, and creating the file in the share. So this is a very simple and 3-step process, which you could do I think we did it less than 2 minutes. So now we'll hand over to on our contact. Yeah.
Thank you, Yu-Ming. So we're running out of time. So those are our email alias. Send me an email. I'm going to stick around if you have any questions. Next slide, please. I want to show you the session. This is the session information that I was referring to, BRK2372. We are going to deep dive manage this session there. Thank you very much.